Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, Just Bookish Things. So today I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up. So for the month of January I read a total of 5 books. Most of these I read before the semester started, so I'm sure that now that I'm back at school I'm probably not going to be reading as much as I used to, but I'd still like to try to read this many books. So I have my Goodreads pulled up and I'm going to go off by what I read starting from the beginning of the month to the end. So if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at my list, that way I can tell you the authors' names. So the first book I read was actually a book from my childhood, and it was The Three Little Javelinas by Susan Lowell. This is basically a retelling of The Three Little Pigs, but set in Arizona. My parents got this for my siblings and I when we were like really little. We were traveling through Arizona and we actually got the book signed by the author and illustrator, and it was really cool. And recently my parents found it in our storage unit and brought it home for us, and so I decided to go ahead and read through it again now that I'm an adult, and just brought back so many memories, and I loved that book as a child. The next book I read was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the screenplay. So this is basically just the script for the movie Fantastic Beasts. I've never seen the movie before. I would like to, but I've never actually seen it. But I read the screenplay and I read it in like a day. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really good and it made me really want to see the movie, especially with all the effects that it has in the book and everything. And so I thought it was really good. I'm not going to go into details about what it's necessarily about because I feel like it would spoil the movie, and if you haven't read any of the other Harry Potter books, maybe it would kind of spoil that too. I don't really think so because there wasn't really a lot in there from the other books because this takes place before all of them. But yeah, it was really good and I really enjoyed it and I'm glad I read it. So then the next book I read was All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven, and I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It's definitely probably one of my favorite books of the year so far. I buddy read this with my friend Stacy. We met on YouTube and we have become like friends through like Twitter and everything, and we both decided to read this together and I loved it. I remember when I first picked it up back in 2015, I didn't want to read it. I started reading and I really didn't like it. It's basically about these 2 high school students, Finch and Violet, and they both have mental disorders. So they have mental illnesses such as depression and things like that. And I think the reason I didn't like it when I first read it back in 2015 was because I felt like it was going to be one of those books where they fall in love and suddenly they don't have mental illness anymore. Mental illness doesn't exist, and so I just didn't want to read it. Also, I was kind of going through some stuff with my own mental illness because I had just started college. I was away from home for the first time, and so my anxiety and my depression were really hitting me hard back then. And I think I just didn't like seeing some of my characteristics within the characters at the time because I was in denial about them. But then going back and reading it now, I can really relate to a lot of the characters. I did a full review on this on my Goodreads, so I'll link my Goodreads page down in the description box. But yeah, I loved it. And it didn't end up being one of those, oh, they fall in love and now they're suddenly not sick anymore. It was just really good, really heartbreaking. I cried in some parts. I actually annotated this book, which I don't usually do, but I went in with one of my pencils and just like started writing things, and I just love that book. I have so many feels for it and I am so happy I read it. I know a lot of people don't actually like this book. It's kind of split down the middle. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I definitely loved it. So then the next book I read was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Part 1 and 2. So this is a play that takes place after the main Harry Potter books. And it follows Harry's son Albus and Draco's son Scorpius, and they're best friends. They go to Hogwarts and everything. and they decide that they are going to use a time turner to go back in time and change something that happened in one of the previous books, the previous Harry Potter books. And then things just go wrong from there because, like, obviously when you change time, bad things can happen. And I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was really fun. I really liked to read it. But for me, there was just some things that, like, I was like, well, I don't know if that would actually happen. So, like, some of the things that happened, especially when they went back in time, I feel like it would be really inconsistent with the, like, the original book or books. I feel like when they went back in time, those things just, like, you would have noticed them in the previous books, so, like, I feel like it couldn't happen. And then there was something that was revealed at the end that I was like, I don't know. But I did have a lot of fun reading it. Albus really annoyed me because he was just really angsty and really annoying, and I was just like, Albus, chill, like, you're fine, just calm down. But yeah, I know a lot of people don't like it if they're really attached to the Harry Potter universe, and, like, I'm really attached to Harry Potter. I'm a big part of the fandom. Like, I have, like, merchandise and stuff like that. I even have a little, like, Draco pop figure, like, just, like, above me here. So yeah, I really love the Harry Potter universe, but I didn't necessarily hate this book. Like, I thought it was good, and I think one thing a lot of people don't like about it is that you can't really connect to the characters as easily as they would in maybe the original Harry Potter books, but I think that's just because it's a play. And I read a lot of plays, so I know how to read them, and so they make sense to me. But some people, I feel like maybe they're not used to reading plays, so they don't get as much out of it, I guess. But I thought it was really fun. I would have actually really liked to have seen the play, because there's, like, things in there, like how they show, like, different characters and stuff and different kinds of magic and everything, like some effects in the book that I was just like, that is, like, the coolest thing ever, and I would have loved to have seen it because I feel like it was really good. Truly, I think this isn't necessarily canon. I know that, like, J.K. Rowling, I guess, like, helped with it, like, helped to write it, but I feel like the author doesn't have to write something and it immediately becomes canon. The author could write something and it's not canon at all. So it really read like a fan fiction to me, which isn't bad. Like, I like fan fiction. I've written fan fiction before, and I really enjoy it. I just don't think any of this actually really would have happened in the actual original Harry Potter universe. But it was still a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I read it. Then the last book that I read in January was Orange, the Complete Collection, Volume 1 by Ishigo Takano. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. It's a Japanese name, so I just don't know how to pronounce it, but I will leave links to all the books in the description box so that you can go check it out. And again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. But this is a manga about this girl who she gets a letter from herself in the future. So her future self sends her past self a letter, and so the past self gets it and reads it, and it says that something bad is going to happen to one of her friends and that she needs to stop it. And as she goes through her day, she realizes that the letter predicted everything that was going to happen from her day, and so it just follows her trying to basically help her future self and help this friend of hers. And I really enjoyed it. There were some parts that were really sad, and I don't know, I really liked it. I really liked the art in it. I just thought it was beautiful, and I'm glad I read it. I originally heard Witty Novels talk about it, and so I was like, you know what, I want to go pick that up from my library. So I did, and it was really good. I gave it 5 stars. I really want to pick up the second collection of it, like the second volume, but it's currently not at my library. Somebody else has it checked out. But yeah, so those were all of the books that I read in January. Let me know what books you read this month, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!